exclusively on the OysterLink Podcast, the fastest growing hospitality job platform in the US. One of the original architects of New York's nightlife, he designed and launched over 30 venues across America. And now, he's redefining luxury dining with one of the most immersive restaurants in Florida. Hear from Michael Tronn how he built a multi-million-dollar dining experience and the lessons every operator needs to learn. Hello everyone and welcome to the OysterLink Podcast, the fastest growing hospitality job platform in the US. Hello Michael, thank you for joining us today.
My pleasure, thank you.
So to start, could you please introduce yourself and tell us a bit about your career path?
Sure. I've been doing experiential creation for 34 years. It began in New York when I was a teenager, and it has continued ever since. I did 10 years in New York, 8 years in Miami, several years of production in TV and film in Los Angeles, and then I recently returned to Florida, to Fort Lauderdale, to do a big project here called TIMBR.
You said it began when you were a teenager. Can you tell me more about that? What was the start?
Sure. When I was 16, I was going to a special high school called LaGuardia High School, which, for anyone who remembers the movie Fame, it's a school, it was that school. And you had to declare a major, or you had to get accepted for a major. And I was accepted for visual arts. And within the visual arts context, one of the offerings for elective classes was fashion design. And I took it, I took part one, and then I took part two. And then my thesis, since I was already going to a lot of nightclubs in the city at the time, I asked the teacher if I could do a thesis project, which would be to hold a show in one of the clubs that I frequented and then videotape it and present it to the class. And she said yes. And that show went extremely well. And because it went so well, then I was invited to do shows at several other nightclubs. So the first 4 events that I did was one at Stringfellows, then The Saint, then 1018, and then Tunnel. And then at Tunnel, I met a gentleman named Rudolph, who is a very well-known club impresario. He did Danceteria and Tunnel and Mars and a lot of the more well-known clubs in New York during that time period. And he was a great visionary. And he said to me, there was no promoters at this time or anything like that. And he said, I will pay you to have parties. You don't have to make all these clothes. And as a 17-year-old, I thought, oh, that's a great job. And even by today's standards, it would have been considered fairly high paying for events. And so it was a great opportunity. And that's how I started. I wouldn't have even called it professional then, but that's how I started getting paid to do events in New York. And I would do them at an average of like once a week or once every other week at the Tunnel in New York City. And so it was only me and one other guy doing all the events for really it all, truthfully. But we were very focused on like the creative community, cool. I wouldn't say kids. It wasn't so much other kids, maybe some college students, but it was people of like all ages, but of a particular mindset and a particular style. So that's how I got into the business, and I just never left.
What about today? You said like your project today in Florida is TIMBR. So what can you tell us about this project?
Sure. It is the culmination of thousands of events that I have done since the beginning of my career. So everything that I've learned along the way, which is about how to communicate through experience, how to make people feel certain things by experiential design, and using all the different notes and elements to create a world. I'm very much all about world building, and I think that's a very different point of view than a lot of designers that I know, where they just care about the aesthetics. So for me, I'm always looking to do something that's transportive, and TIMBR is definitely that. Right from even from our branding and advertising and marketing strategies, from the first point of contact all the way through the arrival and the experience at the venue. And then, even for me, until the end of a memory, which hopefully will be a good memory and hopefully be lifelong. So it's a very, very long relationship, and it's a very long experience, because I don't consider the product to just be like food and drink. I consider it to be your emotional response and your memory. That's what we're really in the business of creating. So TIMBR, on the outside, we had a very industrial sort of, I don't want to say run down, but a hodgepodge of different styles of our building that had occurred over the last 120 years, because the building's 110 years. The building was made in 1910. But on the facade, it just really was a mess. So I was like, we need to do something unique, but we need to do something familiar. And because TIMBR is all about this warm, enchanted familiarity, the thing that came to mind for me was to do like a European storefront. So we redid the entire front of the building, and on the ground level, it's all black and it's millwork. And there are these huge terrace windows that the whole entire front opens on weather permitting days. And then above that, there's like windows, as if it was like a little building that you would discover turning a corner in Paris or something. And there's, the window pots with flowers, and that there are these little Juliet terraces that have an Art Deco railing. So the whole thing, and then every brick on the facade, I didn't want there to be sharp edges. I wanted it to be very warm and very inviting, and also look like it had been there for hundreds of years, or at least 100 years. So everything is made to look weathered and authentic. So I designed each brick with a brick mason, and we made the molds for these bricks so that they would meet this criteria of feeling like they were in a pie crust or under, dozens of, let's say, layers of paint to soften them up. Then you go in the place, and it's this incredible high ceiling. It's like a park. And the name of this front room is actually in the park. So there are 9 15-foot tall trees. They are real. And then there are these firefly lights hanging. There's 750 firefly lights that were made especially for TIMBR by a friend of mine. And all of the tables and all of the banquettes, also everything is custom made. So all the tables and the bar top and the bar shelves are live edge monkey pod wood, and they're, as you can imagine, how a room full of live edge tables looks amazing. And then I wanted the banquet experience to be elevated as well. So instead of doing a typical hard, not so comfortable seating, our banquettes feel more like sofas, and they're upholstered in denim. So we went through 6 different fill tests to get to the right level of cushioning for all of our banquet seating, and then it's all this aged, beautiful, like wonderful, comfortable, like everybody's favorite pair of blue jeans. Denim is the upholstery for both dining rooms. So that's a big part of the experience. And then the other dining room, which it's very much hidden from the front. There's just like a small corridor, and then you go through it, and you are surprised by this gigantic room with 33-foot high ceilings, and all the walls and the ceiling are covered in 90,000 mostly pink flowers, and it's really, really beautiful. It looks like an outdoor. There's a glass pyramid skylight on top of the whole thing, and it really looks like an enchanted garden. So you have this really great juxtaposition of like this beautiful twilight park, and then this discovery of this enchanted garden. And then in between the 2 rooms is an exposed kitchen, which is meant to look like an estate kitchen. And it has a copper hood, and it has beautiful Heston cooking ranges. They're like in an emerald green, which they have like gold accessories on them. And I had a friend of mine make these beautiful chevron wooden butcher block countertops for the pass, and also for the cooking island. And then we have again, and then the brick motif continued into the kitchen as well. So it very much looks like an estate kitchen and not like an industrial kitchen. So the whole place is very, very detailed and very intentional, and it fits into the philosophy that I use and have developed, which is the symphony for the senses. So each of these things is a note in an orchestra that is communicating to you and designed to make you feel a certain way.
So I'm guessing this is the immersive dining experience, like the way TIMBR is described online is an immersive dining experience.
Yeah, it is. It's not like the normal restaurant, for sure. It is experiential. It's living theater. So I just feel like it's living theater with food and drink.
Amazing. Then, given what you just said about your journey and let's say building these worlds for TIMBR, and when checking your Instagram account, like before this interview, I noticed that somehow it's clear that you found your inner peace. This is how you described it. And I mean, in today's terminology, we don't call it inner peace, we call it like work-life balance. But in hospitality, there is no work-life balance. The hospitality is like burnout, is a lot of stress, is a lot of working hours and headache. How did you achieve that?
Well, I wouldn't say that I have work-life balance. I would say that my joy is work. So whether it's working to create something like TIMBR or any of the other 18 things that I'm currently working on, some of them are hospitality based, but some of them are straight up theatrical. Some of them are literary and some of them are musical. And I have a whole fine art career that is concurrent with this. So I have many outlets for my creativity, and that is my life. It is my work too, but that is my main focus. I make a little joke sometimes. I say I don't have any pets, plants, or partners, so I'm good. In TIMBR, I do have a partner, but I mean in life. So I'm able to use my time in a way that gives me the most amount of pleasure, which is creating.
So we can, let's say, take out the balance from work life and call it just like work life. This is what
it's just life. It's just life. Like my life and my work, I don't feel are necessarily separate. I feel like TIMBR is the embodiment of who I am as a human being and as a creative person. So obviously it's incredibly personal. It's not just a job where someone says, oh, design something for me and, that's it. It's very much a personal reflection of what I believe people want, but also what I like. And the most important element, I think, is not even an element. It's a feeling. It's warmth. And people have been very vocal in their observations about that. People who have surprised me with their astuteness and their recognizing the intentionality of the experience created, and they are very appreciative of it. It's very nice, actually.
Of course, I mean, given what you just described, of course, it's very nice. By the way, over the past 2 years, I've interviewed a lot of chefs and restaurant owners and operators, and all of them talked about the high turnover rate in this industry as one main reason for stress again. So I want to know how you handle that, how you handle the turnover rate.
To speak about the turnover, so the back of the house turnover is not something that I'm directly involved with, so I can't really speak to it. I know that working in a kitchen is incredibly hard. I have not even watched The Bear because I turned it on for 15 minutes and I was so stressed out about it. I was like, I can't have this in my house. It's already enough, in the place. But yeah, I don't. Fortunately, that is outside of my purview.
What about the front of house? You said that you have low turnover rate. How do you manage that? What makes it low?
Well, I think there are a few major things. I mean, obviously everybody is there and they are working for money. So because we're as popular as we are, they are doing very well, particularly given, I would say, compared to other restaurants in Fort Lauderdale. We are certainly in the top 10, maybe even in the top 5. I know that we do sell out regularly, and usually a few weeks in advance. So they're doing great. And I think that's a really good reason for front of house staff to stay. In addition, they're all really nice people, and they get along with each other, and they get along with management, and they do a good job. And every time I have dinner at TIMBR with friends, they always comment to me about the warmth and the friendliness and the ease of the staff. And it is meant to be relaxed with good service. So they are not they're not held to an impersonal standard of service where they don't get to be who they are, which I definitely feel is a very normal way that restaurants work, where it takes the personality of the staff out and then they're just serving. At TIMBR, I feel like we very much have the personality of the staff front and center, but they're also really good personalities. So I think it's a good place for it's comfortable. And it's good money. I guess if I had to boil it down to two essences, those would be them.
Nice. And then may I ask you, what gets someone fired right away from front of house at TIMBR?
That is a very good question, and I might not know the answer because I do not do that. I mean, stealing, fighting, or, the usual stuff.
Then what gets someone hired? What makes you feel impressed with someone's work that you would hire them right away on the spot?
Well, I think the normal things. So where they worked before, of course, and how long they stayed there, but then definitely character.
Okay, character. Do you think this is more important than experience, or is it the same, as important?
I think they're the same, but I think you can teach people to serve well, I think, if you have to, but you can't teach character. So I would, if I were judging character versus service ability, I would probably say character is maybe it's a 60-40. So I would put character a little further ahead, but yeah, that's what I would say, actually.
One more question about the front of house, since this is a trending topic these days. What about tipping? What's your take on tipping?
We've experienced both styles. So one, we did an auto grad, and then we eliminated it. So I think there's more incentive for excellence without auto grad. And I think it's what I grew up with, so it's what I'm more accustomed to. I feel like in other countries, auto grad is more normal, but I also think that the workmanship is also different in other cultures. So I think for America, or for the United States, I think standardized, letting the customer decide what they want to do is appropriate.
Okay. And it works well. I mean, in your case, for example, in TIMBR, this is what you mean.
Yeah, I mean, it works. It works fine. Yeah. I think it's better for guests. Guests do not like auto grad in America. Yeah, they don't like that.
So let me now shift to another question. You just talked about all the effort that you put to make sure you build these worlds for the guests. You build the experience, the immersive experience. And recently, everyone has been talking about artificial intelligence and whether or not AI will take over any jobs in hospitality. What you just described is a work done by a human to make sure that other humans will enjoy this experience. Do you think that AI could actually take over hospitality jobs in the near future? And in case of yes, what are you doing in that regard?
Sure. I think it can take over certain things, but it can't take over what we're talking about. It certainly is not up to the point where it can interpret cultural trends and then respond with design to sort of be the yin yang for the cultural trends. I think AI is very smart, and I use it for lots of things, but I don't think it's a designer. It can make nice art on its own, but I think one thing that I do run into, even in my best AI moments, is there is a lack of nuance, and I think the hospitality is all nuance, or at least if it's done well. So I don't think that if I were to say to ChatGPT or one of the other ones, okay, so the culture in Fort Lauderdale is this is where the world is economically, these are the circumstances we're dealing with, give me a design. I think it would give me a design. I don't know that it would give me TIMBR. I have not tried using it in the way that I just described it before. Now I'm curious, but I do not think so. Until they can, right now we're still giving it information, right? So even when AI is mobilized, like with robotics, and it can interpret what it sees and actually have enough memory to take it all in, perhaps it will be able to have more of a human-like response for theatrical design or any kind of art or creative application. Certainly it can give you a menu. But I don't think it's up to doing design yet, other than if you say, like, you know, the AI architecture that I have seen is, you know, give me a modern green building, you know, like that it will definitely be able to do. But I think other things, not yet. Maybe in the future.
What about the other jobs in hospitality where you said it might be able to take over? Like, are you planning to use AI, for example, at TIMBR?
Well, we'll use it to the degree that it can function. So we use it for answering the phones when we're not there, and even sometimes when we are there. We use it, you can use it to create strategies or plans that you would normally have, that I would normally have done on my own. I mean, I've been doing marketing strategies for decades, so it's not really a major revolution for me to do a marketing strategy. But if I say to ChatGPT, oh, this is what I'm going to do, give me your thoughts, or give me some supplementation or whatever, it can do that. When I use it for design work, I have not seen it do. I'm frequently disappointed, let's put it to that way. So when I imagine, like, our branding uses a Beaux-Arts butterfly woman, which I knew from my art history training, and maybe if I said to AI, find me that Beaux-Arts butterfly woman, like, maybe it could do that. It was able to alter that when I gave it some direction, and I wanted to change the complexion, and I wanted to make it unique for this one particular diner that I created a special menu for. It was a big surprise for that her, fiance or something wanted to do for her. So I completely personalized our logo for her so that it looked like her. It could do that. But I don't know that it has the encyclopedic knowledge. I mean, it definitely does have encyclopedic knowledge. I just don't know that it would know how to apply it yet. But maybe
it's your 30 plus years. This is
right. I mean, it doesn't have that. It's like new, and it doesn't have the experiential memory. So when, for me, I'm pulling from an entire life of just existing. And fortunately, I, coming from New York, and I lived in Paris for a while, and I've lived in Los Angeles, and I lived in Southern Florida, and I lived in Mexico. Like, I've seen things. And I know that AI is pulling from a lot of people who've seen a lot of things too, but it doesn't replicate the experience yet. Yeah. So we'll use it for things that it can do. And if and when it can do more, yes, of course. I mean, I feel like a lot of people are like against AI and they are not willing to embrace it. And that's fine. I mean, I get those emotions. But whether those people are embracing it or not, it is here and it's going to stay. So I think it's a good idea to figure out how to make it work for you instead of just pretending it doesn't exist.
Thank you for this answer. So, Michael, let me wrap up this conversation by asking you what's next for TIMBR?
Well, we are doing, because it is seasonal, which sort of gives it a lot of ability to. So now we're starting our second season. So it's TIMBR 2.0. So TIMBR 2.0 has a new menu, a new craft cocktail program that's going to be the most robust in the whole area. We do have a new chef. We do have new management. So we have a lot of areas that we are going to be raising our standards on, which I really like. And then in terms of expansion, that was always the plan for TIMBR and for this company was to create multiple concepts in multiple locations. And it's something that I definitely think about all the time, both for TIMBR and also not for TIMBR, for other things. Because TIMBR was only one of 1,300 ideas that I came up with before deciding to do this with my two partners at the time. So when we had our empty space and it was a blank canvas, I shared with them the 1,300 ideas, and this was the one we all liked. So I think TIMBR could expand, and I think there's a room for lots of other theatrical experience, hospitality destinations to exist.
When you say that TIMBR can expand, what would be the next destination? Do you have any place in mind or not yet?
I do. I think to do Vegas would be really fun because it would be like TIMBR on steroids. I think it could be a lot bigger. It's still pretty big. We seat 120, but we could go bigger and go even more immersive in a city like Las Vegas. I think Dubai also would lend itself to that. London has a lot of very theme-driven restaurants as well, so perhaps there. Perhaps New York, perhaps LA, maybe not, though. New York's weather might be prohibitive rather, even though that's where I grew up and I would love to do something there. Any major market could probably contain a TIMBR. I think in Japan it would probably do very well as well, because it's definitely an Instagram destination. We have had, our videos are outrageously viral. We're I think over 2 million views at this point, which for a single location restaurant in Southern Florida is really unprecedented. And the quantity of followers that we have is the same as one of our peers down the same street. They've been open for 10 years. They have the same amount of followers as we do. So I think that our uniqueness and all the things that we've been talking about that made TIMBR a standout, everyone recognizes that. And I think that that's translatable at really anywhere for the most part.
You just brought up something really interesting when you mentioned social media. So the design, the worlds that you created at TIMBR, they impacted the entire social media work, that it made things easier for you. You said 2 million views already.
That's correct. Sure, social media is a major driver of attention. I don't know that it's a major driver of revenue yet, because I think that people who are online might not be exactly our financial demographic. So certainly, we don't focus on TikTok because that is definitely much younger, although I think that's changing. For sure, Instagram is very, very visually important to us. It's a feel good. It's a feel good for us to know that we're doing a good job. It translates into some customers, for sure. And the barrier of entry to gaining, let's say, the 20 to 40-year-old crowd, I definitely think Instagram is a major player for that. And that is a big part of our audience. Although I would venture to say that if I were including everybody that comes to TIMBR, we're probably 20 to 70, or certainly 65. So we skew a little bit older and a little more established because it's not inexpensive.
Thank you so much for sharing all those insights. Thanks for your time today, and all the best wishes for the upcoming TIMBRs, and hopefully TIMBR Vegas. That'll be something to watch out for and to visit.
Well, thank you very much. Yes, it could be a lot of fun. Thank you for your time too.